We know that inflation is at a 40-year high, and with that comes massive effects of things becoming much less affordable. We've seen it in everyday things, from the price of gas to the price of eggs, and now even to the price of cars, which is surging and becoming almost unaffordable for people to be having these cars and car loans and affording them, at least comfortably. I mean, all you got to do is look at the average price of a car in 2023, and it's almost $50,000. That is ridiculous for a car. If you're buying a $50,000 car and you're not making $250,000 a year, like at absolute bare minimum, I wouldn't even touch a $50,000 car unless you're a millionaire. Like, you don't need a car that costs that much. And it's kind of insane that the average price of a car is 50 grand now. But it doesn't stop there. We know that there's so many bad numbers going on with cars right now. Like this, back in 2021, the reported estimated average transaction price for a light vehicle in the United States was about $38,000. Spending more than $40,000 for a new car if your household earns less than $200K a year is unwise. And I would agree with that. I think that you shouldn't look anywhere near cars that are $40,000-$50,000 if you don't have tons of money, if you're not a millionaire or you're not making like $250,000 every single year. It's just not smart to buy a car like that. Cars are depreciating assets. They go down in value over time. So you're not getting a return on it. You're only going to do it for fun or to feel good about yourself or kind of show off to other people. You never really buy a car that expensive just because you like it, or like it doesn't have any reason to have. You could buy a car that's $10,000 or less than 10K and last you just as long, maybe longer, and it's not some super flashy car, but it'll get the job done. And even from some of these charts here, you can see like the explosion in price of new cars, just almost $50,000, and like we saw before, it is basically 50 grand right now in 2023. Inflation on the rise too, but it's strictly outpacing inflation because of, the supply chain stuff, the demand for cars, and the low chips that they can't really make cars with. So the supply is constrained, the demand's not really going down, so we're stuck here with rising prices. It's not a good recipe, and it's not good because $50,000 loans for a car is pretty expensive. And even the price of used cars is skyrocketing. You can see here a more amazing stat. The average price of used cars is up even more due to supply chain issues, pandemic, greater demand. There are simply not enough cars to meet demand, which is basically what we're seeing. And you can see the prices absolutely skyrocketing. The cost to buy a used vehicle has risen almost 40 or about 41% in the past year, which is insane. That's unheard of for vehicles, right? I mean, you can see this line going back to 2016. It's hovering in negative for many years, around zero, slightly up, and it's usually around zero or negative because cars lose value over time. But now we're in such a weird time where cars, they can't make them. They can't make enough cars. The supply chains are all choked up. They can't get the chips to make the cars, and so you have less supply. Equal demand means prices goes up, and if you have less supply with more demand, prices skyrocket, which is kind of what we're seeing now. And something crazy to look at too is this here, the loans, right? This says it turns out that most new car buyers are probably not making anywhere close to $190,000 a year. The reason I know this is because the average auto loan is now over $30,000. And if we go to a calculator for a car loan, right? If you have a $30,000 auto loan and the average loan duration 68 months, the average interest rate right now is 5.27%. You would have no down payment because it's $30,000 is what the loan is. So assuming you either had a $38,000 car, put 8K down or something like that, 30K is the loan, and you go ahead and calculate all this. You get a $511 monthly payment for a car. That is crazy. That's so much higher than it's ever been. It's crazy to be paying $500 a month for a car loan. And they break it down a little bit different here, talking about the whole loan. The average term is 68 months, which we did all of that stuff. The way they came out is $503 a month, so pretty similar numbers here. And just over 5.7 years. So even $30,000 loan, you're going to pay back $34,000 over 6 years. It's absurd. $500 a month for 6 years is a big burden to take on for a car, especially when that doesn't include any maintenance costs. That doesn't include if anything happens, you have to get it repaired. It doesn't include any of that. That's strictly the bill. It's not a good situation to be in. And there's actually a guy on Twitter, the car dealership guy, who puts out a bunch of good stuff talking about the car industry, dealerships, selling cars, all of this kind of data on it. And it's pretty crazy some of the things that's going on. Like here, you can see new car prices are a disaster. 1 in 4 new cars sold in December had an MSRP over $60,000. 5 years ago, that was 1 in 13. So again, we're seeing the same trend. It's 1 in 4 cars. 25% of cars are sold for more than 60 grand. That's about the average annual salary in the US. So people are paying a year of their time working for a car. That is not good long-term success stuff. That's not how a supply chain, how supply and demand, these economics should work. We're in a really weird time with this massive inflation, supply chain choke-ups. It's not good. And he's got more data on used cars. The prices are likely going higher than anyone expects because the dealers are selling more cars than they're buying. Same thing that's been the topic here. There's less supply, more demand. That's skyrocketing prices. They can't make cars. They don't have the chips. They don't have the supply chains to actually stay intact. It's not a good situation when new car prices, 60 grand for a new car is 25% of that market. And then even used cars are going up in price. You can't even save money trying to get a used car. The cars are becoming unaffordable. And we still, even at least short term, might see more people or more prices go up even higher because, like this guy says, sales were on fire. Not seeing a tax refund money yet. Consumers are still spending in full force. Level of demand will push prices higher, which is crazy, right? A lot of people do spend more money when they get their tax refunds. I don't know, maybe the tax refunds are going to be less now. Maybe people are not going to get the money back that they thought they were. I know a lot of people that are in that situation. So it maybe, this doesn't end up happening. But it's very likely that even if they don't get as much back as they thought or they did before, they're still going to spend that money. And we'll just end it off on this because this is a good note here between Ned and Joe making $100K a year. Ned's car is 60 grand. Joe's car is 25. Don't be Ned, be Joe. Definitely right. I still think even in this example, probably don't buy a $25,000 car. I would still shop around and try and, get a car around like 10K or less than 10K. But, if nothing else, at least not spending the majority of your salary on a car is probably the right move. So it sucks to see lots of people are being priced out of the car market, being priced out of lots of markets. 40-year high inflation, things are not good. So, maybe something will change. Hopefully something can be settled here because this cannot continue for too much longer, not for a couple more years. I think we'll see a lot of things break. We'll see a lot of, defaults on auto loans. It's just going to be a very bad situation for everybody, and we don't want to see that. So that's going to do it for this video. As always, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video.